How's it going, guys? Shane here again from the GnG Elite DBS channel, and today we're gonna just kind of like take a look at one of the decks from Atlanta. Not that we played or anything, just kind of like taking a look at these new decks in the format, and where they can kind of go from here. So today we're gonna take a look at the blue-black Hirudegarn list that Jonathan Rodriguez and Andrew Duvall played Saturday, because the deck's super sweet. Honestly, like, it's really fun and it's really good. I'm actually probably going to be playing this for Orlando, more than likely, just because I don't find Gehnimba fun, and I don't think I can stomach playing Gehnimba for an entire day. So this is probably where I'm going to be. But, anyways, so this deck's just like a super control deck. It's very similar to the Mono Blue Hirudegarn decks that Jonathan Rodriguez used to play. But now, because of the Power Booster Demigod promo, gives it another big guy that does things, and the 4-drop Demigod again helps with that hand control aspect. So I think this is a little bit stronger. Maybe not like a whole lot stronger, but the deck is definitely, I think, stronger than it used to be. So, but anyway, let's take a look at the deck. So, for anyone who doesn't know, Hirudegarn leader, let's click it real quick. So it's front side 10k auto. When this card attacks lead a card, you can choose one battle card from your hand, place in your drop area. If you do, draw 2 cards. So again, this is just one of the best leaders in the game on the front side, simply because you can dig for a lot of things. Now granted, this is not good against Gehnimba, but it is what it is. You should be able to beat Gehnimba before you mill out anyway, so it should be fun. He is an untapped 2 leader. His backside auto, when this card attacks, draw 1 card. Then if you have 4 or more energy, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and places it on top of their deck. So it's kind of like you draw 2 on the backside, but you're slowly putting your opponent's hand to 0. But you're also setting them back, because instead of discarding, they're putting it on top. So it takes them even longer to dig to cards that they need, and that's one of the big powers of the Hirudegarn leader. So that's the leader. Let's go back to their list. So they were playing 2 Hidden Power E Supreme Kai, Champa. It doesn't really matter which one you play. I prefer Champa just because I don't feel like accidentally forgetting to announce Double Strike and getting, I don't want to say sharked, but you know what I mean. So I prefer Champa. It doesn't really matter which one you play. It's just personal preference. But it makes sense because it gives the deck a way to end the game with any attack. So, like, you attack with the Demigod because it doesn't have Double Strike, you can chomp on it. You attack with your leader, you can end the game. So having these Champa effects makes a lot of sense. It also allows you to put them from 5 to 3. So at all costs can end the game, or at all costs from 5 to 2, and then Double Strike effect to end the game. So it makes sense. 4 Unbreakable makes sense. Like, you're not tapping out every turn. Like, very rarely are you going to tap out, especially because you're playing Hirudegarn. So just having more super combos makes sense. It's a blue control deck, like, it makes sense. 2 Borgos. It's their on-color cantrip. Like, I'm sure the opponent discarding an energy almost never comes up, unless they just play right into it for some reason. And, I mean, like, maybe you'd want 1 or 2 more, but as you can see, they opted to main board 2 Cronoa, which was a really good idea if you look at all the Broly that was there and how many players are playing Shugesh. Like, I mean, just watch Anthony Hernandez's video. He was very upset about people playing Cronoa. But everyone knew Broly was going to be a thing, and everyone knew people were going to get greedy and try to play Shugesh. So the 2-2 split on Borgos Cronoa makes a ton of sense. 3 group leader Pilafs. This was just a way for them to have a out to, like, the Shenron decks, or it can be really good against just, like, random attacks. Like, if your opponent swings with a big critical guy, you just take the critical off. Like, it's no big deal. Or if they swing with something really big, you just take the triple strike off. Like, whatever. Cards are really good and really underrated. Besides, like, obviously it's an out to Shenron Gogeta. But it's really good just in other situations. So, card's not bad. 4 Hoi, super combo, best super combo in the game. Makes sense. Like, super combo. 4 Oath's Power Tapion. So this is one of the deck's main ways of self-awakening. It also sets your opponent back a turn by taking one of their battle cards and putting it on top of their deck. So that's kind of nice. Like, if you play against, like, the Shenron decks, the Shenron doesn't go to their discard pile. It goes on top of their deck, so now they have to cast it again. They can't just World Peace it. So that's really good. And it's just going to be really good spot removal. Same thing with at all costs. They're playing 4 of those. He is also a game ender, but he's also spot removal if they need him to be. So that's always nice. And, you know, he does technically only cost 3 energy, and he replaces himself, so he's just like a really good generic attacker. They're only playing 1 Gogeta 5, though, which I find kind of weird. I think they play at least 2, just because it's really good against Vegeta Baby. Card's insanely good. Though, without objection, maybe it's a little too slow. I don't know, I'd have to test it, but I'm just surprised there's only 1 here. That's probably something you could up to 2 if you wanted to. Maybe they had more on the sideboard. We'll take a look in a minute. Cronoas, we already went over. Alright, now here we get to the Demigra stuff. So, the Demigra stuff's really neat. I've got the cards pulled up right here so we can kind of like go into detail about the effects and talk about them. So, first, let's take a look at the new promo, the Encroaching Darkness Demigra from the Power Booster. He's an Overrealm 4, cost 0 to Overrealm. Permanent, all Demigra cards in your hand with energy cost of 7, gain Xeno Evolve 3 onto Demigra. Auto, when you play this card, you can't play non-black battle cards for the duration of the turn, and your opponent can't attack with battle cards with an original power of 10,000 or less at the end of their next turn. So, you need to make sure you play this. Like, once you play this, you don't play Borgos or anything. Like, once you play this, all you're playing is Demigra stuff. Like, just make sure you remember that. And then, it can help against, like, some of these slow dirtily decks. Not slow dirtily decks, like the aggressive decks. Like, you know, Bardock's can't attack, Kabba's can't attack, you know, 1-drop Freezes can't attack. All the 1-drop 10Ks can't attack during your opponent's next turn. So that can really help against the aggressive decks. But it's going to allow you to Xeno Evolve into the big boy, the Temporal Darkness. If you don't have these yet, I would go ahead and pick them up. I mean, they're really cheap. They're $1. I'd go ahead and pick up your playset. Because the Power Booster's not even that expensive. It's like $7. But yeah, I'd go ahead and pick these up if you don't have any. Anyway, so he'll gain the Xeno Evolve 3 thanks to the promo. And, let's see, let's get past all that jazz. Auto, when you play this card, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and send it to their warp. Then choose up to 1 battle card from your warp with an energy cost of 4 or less and play it. So, he's just spot removal, and he's a 30k body. So, more often than not, he'll be able to remove 2 creatures just from his effect and then attacking into one. Or he can help pressure their life. So, that's always good. He's also going to let you play this guy out of the warp. So this Demigra is what really helps the deck. Auto, when this card attacks, your opponent chooses 1 card from their hand and sends it to their warp. If that card was a battle card, combo with it in your combo area. So whenever this attacks, it's getting a card out of their hand. And that's good. That's what we want to do as Hirudegarn, because we're going to slowly just rip their hand away before we end the game. Because ideally you want to get your opponent's hand to 0, and that's when you're going to kill them with at all costs so they can't have a negate or anything like that. So, this is another one of those things. They're super cheap, man. This deck is not expensive outside of at all cost. I'd just go ahead and pick up all the Demigra package while it's cheap. But anyway, that synergizes also really well with like Phantom Flame Cannon and all that other stuff. Like, you're just going to get their hand to nothing. Let's go back to the list real quick. So that's all the Demigra stuff. 4 Dimension Magic, it makes sense. You're playing blue. It's a really good negate. Untapping energy is really good. 4 Phantom Flame Cannon. It only gives your leader 10k, so that's something to remember. You can't combo it on one. Like, you can use it on a battle card attack, but it won't give your battle card plus 10k. So you have to remember that. But you pick a card at random from your opponent's hand to make sure you know that you pick it at random. Your opponent does not pick the card. And then you put it on top of their deck. So, like, you can swing with Hirudegarn after your 4 energy. They'll put a card on top of their deck. And then you can just drop some Phantom Flame Cannons. And for everyone you play, that's another card on top of the deck. Then you attack with this Demigra, and that's a discarded card out of their hand. There's so much hand control in this deck, and it's so fun. And it's plus 10k, so it's basically a super combo. So you're basically playing 4, 8, 12 super combos. So, and last but not least, 4 Senzu Bean, because it's a blue deck, and Senzu Bean's dumb. Untapping energy is great. Helps defend against the aggro decks, because it's a constant 5k, and, you know, card's good. So, honestly, I think this deck's going to start popping up a lot more. It does really well into the meta, I think. It has plenty of spot removal that's pretty cheap for the Vegeta Baby decks, which have a hard time dealing with spot removal. You know, that's kind of their counter. Though, you know, you'll see more people playing strategies of Universe 7, so, you know, they'll get barrier. But, you know, they can't streamline one of those every single turn. So, you know, they can only play up to 4. The odds of them streamlining it every turn are pretty low. So, this deck should, in theory, do well into that. I would think, anyway. Against the Lineage deck, I would also think it does okay. It is a Mono Blue deck, and Mono Blue decks tend to be able to defend. Now, it's just one of the things, though. If you get Victory Strike, you get Victory Strike. There's nothing you can do about it. But if your opponent doesn't see Victory Strike, you should be relatively okay. But, I don't know. It's still going to be rough because that deck's really dumb. Let's just take a look at Jonathan's sideboard and see what he was doing in his sideboard. So he was playing a Dimensional Banisher Fu, which makes sense. You want more spot removal. Spot removal was important in Atlanta. A lot of decks had a hard time dealing with spot removal. He's also playing 2 of that Buy-a-Box Mass Sand. Let's look that up real quick, because I can't remember what that does. I don't even know if I've ever read the card, to be honest. Not that one. This one. Auto, when you play this card, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, send it to its owner's warp. Sparking 7 auto, when this card attacks, your leader card is black. Okay, so that doesn't matter. Okay, so it's just removal. It's removal that hits anything. So that makes sense. Just 4 cost removal. That doesn't, like, that makes sense. He doesn't want to play too many Banisher Fus and stuff, probably. Because he wants his discard pile so he can overwhelm these into play. Or mainly the promo. So, this just costs 4 instead of making him, you know, warp stuff. So, I mean, that makes sense. It's just 4 cost removal. 3 Killy Zones for Bloodlust. You don't want the power booster getting Bloodlusted. You don't want at all costs getting Bloodlusted. GnG to 5, whatever. So, that makes sense. 2 Infernal Villainy Cells. I guess that's just for... I don't necessarily know exactly what deck it's for. I can't think of when you would want more of the pseudo super combos. But it's probably just against like the grindy matchups where, like, you know, it's gonna go till turn 8. So that's probably what those are for. 2 Ready Stance. Those are good against like some of the aggressive decks. You know, barrier blockers are really good this format. And yeah, it makes sense. The Piccolo. I don't remember what he does either. Let's look him up. Okay, so he's a 2-drop permanent. If your Guardian Strike Vegeta doesn't play battle, okay, it doesn't matter. Auto, when you play this card, if you place a card in your energy area during this turn's charge phase, you have less energy than your opponent. Choose up to 1 of your opponent's energy and place it in the drop area. Okay, so this makes sense. It's for the objection decks. So basically Shenron Gogeta. So if they go first, and they objection, then you just play him and you pop 1 of their energy. Makes sense. Yeah. So if you charge and you have the same amount, he doesn't work. That's unfortunate. So if you go first and then they objection, it's not really going to matter because you'll be on 2. Yeah, you'll end up matching their energy. So that's kind of unfortunate. But it only costs 2 instead of Dende costing 3, and that's relevant. 2 Weesis Coercion. That makes sense. You just want to have extra negates, and they're basically free. And 1 more peel off. That's definitely for probably Victory Strike and mainly the Shenron Gogeta matchup, just so you can draw into it. You just want to maximize your opportunity to draw into it off the Gogeta reset. Because if you draw it, you probably just win the game. If you don't, you just straight lose the game. So maximizing your opportunity to draw it makes a lot of sense. Well, that's my look at Jonathan Rodriguez's deck. Like, they're going to have their own deck profile on their, you know, on their PPG channel, and I would highly advise just watching that. But I've kind of just been taking a little bit of a break since Atlanta and, you know, getting ready for Orlando. Like, our Power Booster tournament is today. I'm recording this on Saturday. So we'll finally get our promos, and we can finally start playtesting for Orlando, like, seriously. So, in the meantime, I figure we can just go over some of these deck lists that did well at the event. We can just kind of talk about them, take a look at the meta, how it's shaping, you know, because the meta's not figured out yet. It's still shaping. Aggro decks always tend to do well at the beginning of formats. So, it is possible that maybe this deck or another control deck, or even Janemba, just rises back up the ladder and takes back over the format. You know, aggro decks always do well at the beginning. So, but Next, we'll probably take a look at some of the other decks. I don't know what we'll take a look at next. I haven't really looked at the deck list yet. This is the first one I wanted to look at. So, make sure to look out for those. I'll probably do a few this week. But, just like, comment, subscribe, and stay elite.